Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's NCL Thursday Night Live. I'm Jeana. With me is our own WebWitch. And tonight we're talking about scanning. First things first, let's just reintroduce everybody to Crowdcast. If you haven't been with us before, we've got our little check out Kate's blog. That'll take you to this week's blog about scanning that WebWitch wrote. We've got our little ask the question. So if you have any questions, you just go in there and put it in, which is actually easier than if you write a question in the little chat box. We have to manually go in and turn it into a question. But if you try to ask all your questions in that box, it makes our lives a little bit easier because it's hard to manage both at the same time. We've got a little poll. We don't have anything in there yet, but who knows, maybe we'll have something to pull later on in the show. So yeah, that's Crowdcast, and we're gonna hop
into
activity in the chat tonight. I'm a little concerned.
Awesome.
But, okay.
Hello, one person in the chat. Hello. All right. So scanning. If you haven't seen the post already, we're going to be talking a lot about Nmap. There are two different ways to actually do it. There's Nmap, which is the graphical user interface for Nmap, and then there's Nmap, which is just the command line tools, which is very useful, and I end up using that a lot. Gina's going to be able to talk about Nmap, and I'm going to be talking about the command line tools because that's what I'm more familiar with.
What do you want to do first? Do you want me to talk about Nmap first?
Sorry.
Do you want to talk about command line?
Your video went down, so I didn't.
Oh boy.
Your video is.
Oh, sorry guys. It's raining. It only rains on Thursdays here anymore. Oh boy.
But yes, so we will be going over these things. My apologies for the mix-up. I wasn't sure if I was live actually, because if you go down,
You're
I'm pretty sure I go down. Okay, awesome.
I don't know about that. You're live. You're all good.
We don't know. All right. So to introduce scanning, I should probably introduce the reason why you would be doing scanning in the first place. And I think a good way to explain is to kind of talk about what I do for a living. I work with web applications, but our company also works with what is called network scans. So we're essentially given a range of IP addresses that are owned by the company that we're being hired for. We scan through those when we see what applications are running and what ports they're running on. A port is essentially, well, for lack of a better word, it is a port in which data for a certain application is being directed to. Different applications will be listening on different ports so that all the traffic that's coming to your computer does not get just inherently jumbled up. Because if you tried to shove all of the information that is trying to make it into your computer from the internet just into one pipe, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't come out functional. So essentially it's like air traffic controllers directing information to where it needs to go. Ports. Yes. So what you have to do is you're essentially going through and you scan all of these different IPs to see what applications they might have open. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to have your computer send packets, and the port is going to respond with whether or not it is open, closed, or filtered. There's a couple of other ones that are described on the Nmap's website, but the two important ones really that we need to go over for the NCL are open and closed for obvious reasons. There will be questions in the NCL where they will ask you, oh, what is the highest numbered open port? And when you do an Nmap scan, it will give you back both opened and closed ports. And so you have to actually pay attention as to which ones are open or closed. Because I've definitely submitted the wrong answer multiple times because I wasn't paying attention.
Me too.
As I said in as I said in previous posts that I've done, slow and steady will actually get you to where you need to go with higher accuracy. And I know how important accuracy can be. I got second place in one of the NCL competitions because my accuracy was terrible, but I had 100% at it. So accuracy, important. What else? What other basic-y parts? If you're going through, you're trying to find what applications are running on different ports at each IP, and Nmap will do its best to identify those. There are ways to have it do that, and I can go over those now. But do you want me to go over how I do it on the command line, or do you want to, and then have
command
you do
line first,
the
and then we'll go over.
Sounds good.
We want to keep their interest.
So if you haven't, if you haven't installed, okay, first things first. If you are using a Kali Linux setup, you're going to have Nmap on there anyway. If you are using, like me sometimes, your MacBook, what you want to do is you want to go to Nmap's official site for the official download and install guide, which I can link you to right now because I have links ready to go this time. It's right there. So if you need to download Nmap, there it is. Wait. So the way that I use Nmap is I use it through the command line, which is kind of the same way that I was using the log tools from a couple weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago?
I think it was 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks? Yeah.
That's right.
So the way you use Nmap is after you have it installed, you literally type Nmap and Nmap, and then you're going to put flags in for the scan type options, the options you want, and then you're going to have to supply it with a target. There's a couple of different ways that you can specify the target. You can use the IPv4 IP address, which is what people normally think of when they think of an IP address, which is the 4 sets of 2 to 3 numbers separated by periods. And then there's the IPv6, which you're probably not going to get a hold of, so it's fine. But if you want an example of that, it is right here in the blog. And it looks like a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 6 sets of 4 characters, letters, and numbers separated by semicolon. Nope, colons, regular colons.
Colons.
Or you can use the host name. So if you were told to scan a website or the server that the website is being hosted on, you can use, like, for example, scanme.nmap.org, which is a viable and scannable website, and that they let you use to make sure that your Nmap install is working properly. They introduced that, I think, on the download page and some of their info stuff. So if you want to test out your Nmap to make sure that it's working properly, you can always scan them. They are open to that. So the flags that you're going to need to know are the SS, which is lowercase, hold on. You know what? Can I
might want to type that over in the
I'm gonna see if I can type this so it doesn't look. Yep. Nice. Yes. All right.
There you go.
So one of the ones you're going to need to know is the SS, which is the lowercase s, uppercase s, and it's a TCP port SYN scan. So there's two types of ports that they're going to be asking about. There's TCP and UDP. I'm not going to go over the details as to what makes them different from each other. One is essentially it makes a connection, sends data back and forth, and one you just kind of throw packets and hope everything works. But that is also linked within the blog, so if you want to read up a little bit more about those, you can. But really, you just have to know how to identify the different ones and know how to scan for them with Nmap. The SS scan, well, Nmap on its own, if you just like set it to scan against an IP or a host name, will automatically scan for TCP ports in the first 1,000, like either first 1,000 or first most common 1,000.
Was
There's
that
got to be a better way for me to say that. That was a couple of ports. Top 1,000 ports on a computer.
That sounds better. Yep.
Oh, those were the words I was looking for. Woo! So if you want to get more ports than that, which considering there are, hold on, I want to say it's somewhere in the range of 65,535 ports on your computer, and the NCL will ask about all of them. You're going to want to do more than just the typical Nmap scan. So the TCP port SYN scan, because you don't necessarily have to put a flag to make it scan for TCP ports, the reason why this can be useful, and it's really, it's like a really specific instance, because it'll initiate a TCP communication, but it'll never complete the connection, which is important, and I'll explain later. And then the other way is with the ST flag, which is the full connect scan. Depending on how many ports you're scanning and how like active the host you're looking at is, it may take a little bit longer because it is fully completing that connection, and your target is more likely to log that connection because we talked about logs. Logs all those connections that people are making to the server. And it can be used when the TCP SYN scan isn't an option. It'll essentially give you the same information, but the only reason why it would be important is if you were concerned about your target logging the connection. Now, we don't have to worry about that because the NCL knows that we're going to be scanning their systems, and no one's going to be looking for anyone's specific IDs. But for example, if you were out in the work world and you were doing a red team scan against target, then you might want to do it a little stealthily. There's also other options to make it more stealthy, like there's a timing option so that you can send packets at a higher or lower rate, depending on what you need. But that's pretty much when those options come in handy. The other type of port that you're going to need to know about are the UDP ports, and the command to do that is -su, scan for UDP ports. These scans can take a lot longer. I actually ran one on scanme.nmap.org to test it out and make sure I could get all the correct terminal output. And it took me, now I don't know if anyone wants to do math for me, but it was 30,459 seconds. For comparison, a regular TCP scan took 0.94 seconds.
Yeah. It's probably
so UDP
over
scans
an
are kind of
hour. Because I know during the competition, anytime you have to do a UDP scan, it's at least over an hour. You're going to spend a lot of time just waiting for the scan to be done, and that's when you work on other challenges.
Yep. Also, a good thing to do is if you're going to be scanning for UDP ports, you may as well just throw in the TCP scan as well. Just do them all at once. Just have it run both.
You can do
well,
both.
Hold on. You can't do both. You can also do both on the command line. Essentially, if you want to do that, you would say nmap and then -su and then -s. Hold on. S. That's the other one. SYN scan. And you can do both at the same time, and it will give you all the output of both. Compiled into one like output, it's not like it'll give you two separate outputs. It'll give you one list of things that it's able to find what state they're in, either open, closed, or filtered, or open filtered or closed filtered. There's some weird things in there, but they don't come up very often.
Yeah.
Yes. And then when it scans, it'll also tell you what service that port is mostly being used for. Like, for example, you've got on port 80, you'll have HTTP. So that's like if someone was hosting an insecure web server. 443 for HTTPS. If you want to transfer, if you needed to transfer files from a machine you have credentials for, that would be port 21, and it'll tell you what those things are used for. So that's FTP. Port 22 is SSH, which is secure shell. So it's like remotely logging into something. So it'll tell you what exactly that port is for. If it's a non-standard port, if there's also a way to have it scan for the thing that is running on the back end. Now, it's considering Nmap's been around for a while and they've been doing a lot of work on it, it's generally pretty accurate when it's trying to fingerprint these different services. It's sometimes wrong, but very rarely wrong. So you don't have to worry about that. It should, whatever you're scanning, it will probably give you back the correct information. But it does its best, and that's what's important. So if you want to get the versions of or if you want to get the services that are running on the back end of a port, what you have to do is you then have to put in the SV flag, so lowercase s, uppercase V, and it will do its best to give you the version of what's behind there. So for example, I'm not going to copy paste this entire scan in there because that would be horrible, but I did a scan, and on port 22 for the SSH, it said it was running OpenSSH 6.6.1 P1 Ubuntu, which, considering this is the scan of scanme.nmap.org, that's probably correct. They're probably running it on some kind of Ubuntu-based server. And so the NCL questions will ask you sometimes for what services are running on these. So you're going to want to know how to use the SV command and how to stack these commands together to get the information that you need, either the versions and services on the UDP or the TCP ports. And if we're being honest, SS, ST, SU, and SV will pretty much get you through the majority of the NCL questions. There's not a whole lot outside of that, and those give you a very wide range of information for this specific stuff. There are a couple of other ones that I did list that can be useful. For example, considering that you're going to need to check all of the ports on a target system, not just the top 1,000, there is the -P flag, which will allow you to set the port numbers to scan. The best way to do it is just to do -P-, because normally there's supposed to be numbers on either side of that second dash, except if you leave them completely blank, then it will just scan all 65,535 ports, and you'll get all of the information you need. It'll take a while, but you'll be fine. You can also do other things. There are some times that I ran into, multiple times, where you try to scan it, and your computer swears up and down that it is not up. Like I'm sorry, there's just no target at the end of this IP that this CTF has so very specifically handed you. Well, that's a lie, and sometimes Nmap just is dumb. So the way to do that, or the way to fix that, is to, in the scan, put the -PN flag, that's capital P, lowercase n. I'm going to copy and put that in here. And that will assume all hosts are up. So all the hosts that you're going to be scanning, it will assume already that those are up. So it'll just go for it. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it'll try to do a discovery scan for whatever host you're looking at, and it'll just think, you know what, there's nothing there. I'm just not going to try. You need to just tell it to try. It'll work, I swear. Also, if you're getting really, really frustrated and you've started running a UDP scan and you're like, I don't think this is ever going to end, how much longer could it possibly take? You can also use Control-X, and it will tell you what percentage of the scan is done and how much it approximates is going to take. So that's also useful. I actually found that out because I was trying to stop the scan with Control-C, which is the exit, essentially full quit. But instead press Control-X, and it was like, you have this long left, and I'm like, that's too long, Control-C. But Control-X does work, and it can be useful. Especially if you're just waiting on that UDP scan, because it is rough. If you're trying to scan it and PN isn't working, I'd highly suggest, this sounds dumb, but try to just like do a ping to like another website, because maybe, especially with Kali instances, maybe your internet's just like not working super well, especially trying to figure out like the internet connection between VMs. Kali can just be a pain in the butt. Just try pinging something else. And if that's not coming back, then that's your problem. If that's coming back totally fine and you're still not getting anything back from your Nmap and your scan, then you can probably ping someone in the NCL Slack channel, which does exist.
Usually
I actually have a link for that.
Something on NCL's end if no one can find it. Also, like look in the general chat during the competition, because if other people are having problems, they'll start complaining about it. And that's how you know if you're not the only one having problems.
That is true. Also, if certain challenges go down, they'll sometimes be reported in the Slack channel, because people will be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so said that this challenge is down. They should expect it to be back up, whatever. So the NCL Slack channel, which I don't have a link for. Do you have a link for that?
I don't have it offhand. You can only get access to the Slack channel once you've registered for the competition. So if you are registered, you can go into the Cyber Skyline portal, and the link to the Slack is right on the top of the screen. So there's that. I do have a couple questions. This one's not really scanning based, but I will answer it. So Dave asks, will there be a replay because he cannot stay for the rest of this? Yes, there will.
Yes.
Anytime we do a live show, it is always saved right here at the link that we're at right now. So you don't need to worry if you either can't attend at all or if you have to leave early. You'll always be able to come back to it. And then we have another question. This question from Justin says, do we run the scans locally or are we working remotely? If you want to take it away with that one.
I'm going to assume that means, are the packets coming from your computer? And the answer is yes. Your computer is sending these packets to the target. It's not that Nmap is running on some like cloud-based thing and you're telling it where to point. It's your computer is being like, hey buddy, you awake? You there? It's pretty much computer. Yeah. So if you're trying to do it shouldn't do this, but if you're trying to do a UDP scan and maybe your computer's slowing down a little, first of all, something's horribly wrong. But it's because your computer is sending out those packets. Does that answer your question, Justin?
I hope that answered his question.
I don't know.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about.
I will be running Kali from my own computer, not a VM hosted.
So Justin asks, so will I be running Kali from my own computer, not a VM hosted by NCL? No, you'll be hosting from your own computer. NCL doesn't really host their website probably with everyone scanning at the same time. Last season, they did do some stuff where they hosted within it, but it wasn't for scanning. I can't remember which channel it was. It was like all command line stuff.
It was going through. Yeah, I don't remember what it was for specifically or what section it might have been.
I don't remember what it was.
They hosted a stripped down box that. But it wasn't for Nmap stuff.
Yeah, no. So Nmap stuff will always be from your own Kali machine, or even from your own like local machine. Like you don't even necessarily need to use a VM for scanning. So it helps too, because you can do multiple things at once, but you don't necessarily need to. I didn't even use a VM my first season. Don't know how I managed to do so well, but by some miracle I did it. Honestly, though, it really was. Because actually, I've been using Nmap since my first season, and I just downloaded Nmap like locally on my laptop, and it works fine. So I was also on school Wi-Fi, and oh boy,
rough.
School Wi-Fi.
Speaking of Nmap, now that I've talked about the command line version, do you want to talk about how Nmap works? Because
yeah.
I can genuinely say I have never used it.
Yeah. So I try to use every graphical interface that I can because command line just makes me angry sometimes, and it is what it is.
That's fair.
I get by. So yeah, Nmap is just the graphical user interface, or GUI, of Nmap, and it makes it so much easier if you're like me and you really are not a big fan of command line. It confuses you, it frustrates you. I hear ya. So Nmap, basically you just put whatever, usually it's like a link that NCL gives you. You just put the link in the top and it's like, this is the website you want to scan. And then you just select which type of scan. So usually for NCL, I do an intense scan with UDP and just run it. And there's different tabs. So it'll tell you which ports are open, which are closed, filtered, all that stuff. And it'll actually just tell you how much longer, like periodically, like every few minutes, it'll give you like a percentage that it's at. And like how much longer it'll take. It's always well over an hour. That's a different issue. And then, yeah, it'll give you like a list of everything that's open. It'll tell you what services are on each port. It's pretty simple to use.
Nice.
Which is kind of nice. You don't need to decipher anything.
That's true. Do you have a screenshot of it by any chance that you could pop up on the screen?
Not
or?
Hand. Let me see if I can Google and find one.
It's gonna be the worst interface for doing this, but if I can find one, I can just put my phone screen up to the camera.
Very true. Okay, here we go. So let me see. I'm just gonna, let's see if I can.
Does it look like this?
Nice. Share.
Does it look like this?
So can everybody see? Can everybody see this right here?
Oh yeah, look at that.
Okay, so whatever your target is, obviously I can't like click and change it, but then you put the profile. This is actually an old version, but it works nonetheless. Here's one with kind of everything on it. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. There we go. So this is pretty much what it looks like. You put in your target. Sometimes it'll be an IP address. It's usually not with NCL. It's usually a link. And then you choose what kind of scan. There's your best. You can also just look individually in each of the things. And you could also save your scans. So that's what this little tab is here. It'll give you a list of all the scans you've done. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. That actually looks pretty cool. Kind of wish I had known how to use that instead of, banging my way around.
Hey, it's good to know command line too. So
no, it is. But like
options.
For my first time, not knowing anything, would have been cool
definitely
to like.
If you're starting out, a GUI is a lot easier to figure out.
Yeah.
So let's see. Does anybody
on the other
have
hand,
any
if you
more
get thrown in the deep end, you're gonna learn.
Exactly. The chat's a little sparse tonight. Everyone's usually back and forth. If you guys didn't see, I put up a little poll. Asked if you have experience with scanning or if it's all new. Looks like no one's a scanning pro, but some people have done a little bit before. And for a few people, it's all new information. Uh-oh,
somebody's switching between all new information and a little bit of scanning. We see that. Don't know who you are.
I can see
that. Someone's a scanning. Oh, now that we've mentioned the poll, people are. Oh goodness.
Oh boy, who's doing it? Someone's trolling.
Someone's trolling.
It's fine.
I'm adding that.
I always got a few scanning pros in the house.
It's me.
Oh jeez.
Someone's having fun with that. But yeah, are there any other questions? Because
No, scanning's a little bit of a shorter one. There's not too much to it. Scanning's pretty simple.
As a noob
Here we go.
Is there anything we shouldn't do?
Let's see. As a noob using Nmap, is there anything we shouldn't do that might flag us attempting to attack a system?
So the first step, it's a very good question. It honestly depends on the target that you're scanning. All the targets that you're going to be scanning for the NCL aren't going to flag you as a target, specifically because they're created to be open for scanning.
Yeah, and they're only open during the competition too.
And they're only open during the competition. If you were to, like, I don't know, try to scan like Amazon or something, Facebook, instant flag. That is bad. Like, there's actually a lot of controversy around whether or not scanning just random targets is illegal. This shouldn't frighten you or by any means. Like, you're going to be doing things on targets that you're completely fine with, but there you can actually look it up, and there's some debate as to whether or not it is okay to, like, get scan data from, like, arbitrary targets. But really what it comes down to is just make sure you have permissions to scan whatever you're scanning. Just double check that IP address, double check your spelling on that URL. If you do end up scanning something you didn't mean to scan, it won't be bad. Just as long as you don't keep doing it, they'll probably think, oh, it's a one-off. We don't really know what that's from. And it probably won't be an issue because you're not doing anything with that information. You're just trying to scan for information. So you'll be fine. But that is something that you should be aware of. I mean, as with everything,
don't just go around scanning random websites.
Yeah, essentially.
Thank you, Jeana.
Essentially, if you were to go around doing stuff willy-nilly, we can't necessarily be responsible for, like, what might happen. But that's pretty much the same with all the stuff we're going to teach you how to use. Intercepting traffic with Wireshark. That's all good, because that can have important information that people are sending on the interwebs. Yeah. It's stuff like that. So the only thing to keep in mind is just make sure you know what you're scanning. And since you're going to be copying and pasting all of your targets anyway, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll definitely be fine, especially with proxy stuff.
Can I scan my kids?
Well, we did meet somebody at the conference that we met at who had one of those, like, chip things in her arm that had, like, a website if you like scan it. I did. Maybe you were eating with us that day.
I did.
She was somebody who was competing during the NCL CTF at WESIS.
That's cool.
Gone to DEF CON the year before, and they were, like, getting out those, like, 3 things, and they were, like, injecting them into her, like, people's arms. Like, if you scan it or, like, go to the thing, it'll give you, like, your health information if you're, like, in an emergency.
That's a really cool concept. I would not get an injection at DEF CON.
Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. She told us that, and we all just looked at her like, what?
Hard pass on that one, but
yeah,
cool. But, like,
definitely something cool to have in an emergency, but you have to, like, definitely wear something that says, like, hey, scan my arm right in this specific spot, and you'll know my blood type.
Like draw, like, a little, like, target on your arm, like, here. Scan here.
But also, like, if you have an iPhone, there's, like, a thing to there's a setting, and you just put your health information in. And if your phone's on you, if you're in, like, a car accident, they have your blood type.
Your more likely to be useful in that scenario. To actually answer the question of, can I scan my kid or your kid's devices? Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
How to use proxy when scanning others. I think kind of the way you normally use a proxy, right? As someone who doesn't use a proxy to scan people, I don't know the answer to this question. I've never been in a situation where I've needed to hide my IP address. I can't give you that information. I don't know how to do that.
That is a good one for Google, Remy. Sorry, could it be of more help?
It's a combination of tools that I don't. Do you need to know the IP address on the device they are using? Yes. If you're specifically going to be scanning a device on your network, then you're going to need to know the IP address of it, because unless for some reason your child's device is hosting a website, which is unlikely, you're going to need to know the IP address to be able to scan it, because it's the only other
it's
way
like
to
the
specify a target.
NCL stuff, though, because it's a URL. You just put that in there. You don't technically need to know the IP address. If I'm
You don't need to know the IP.
Yeah, it depends on what you're scanning. For NCL, you won't need to know the IP address for anything. So
yeah, they'll just give you URLs, which is fine. To my knowledge, you won't need a proxy in this competition. You are correct, Justin. You won't need a proxy in this competition. This is not a CTF where you're trying to be sneaky about it. Are there like red team CTFs? I haven't done one, but I feel like they should exist, right?
they set up everything you need to be on. So even for that, you don't necessarily need a proxy. So I think most competition stuff, you really don't. If you're like in the real world doing real like sneaky stuff,
Actual work,
you might.
then yeah.
Yeah. But your job will probably teach you that. Maybe.
Yeah, they will.
So
as someone who has recently gone through very intensive job training for a new thing, yes, they will teach you what you need to know. So
yeah.
Anyone else have any more questions?
Let's give everybody just a couple minutes if they've got anything else. This is a pretty simple one, so I'm pretty surprised if there aren't any more.
Yeah, be a pretty chill day. If anyone wants to practice security texting, hack logs. Yeah, so, both of the, so Justin said, if anyone wants to practice with security testing, I would recommend Hack the Box or vulnhub.com. Both of those are really good resources. I've done a little bit of Hack the Box. I may or may not have done a little bit of vulnhub. I've kind of done a lot of things, and I don't remember all of them, but those are really good resources. Hack the Box is difficult because you have to hack your way in to get a login, and you can look it up, but like you might want to like try it out. It's a little bit more on the side of like web app hacking, especially with getting into Hack the Box in the first place. But it is a really good resource, and if anyone wants to, after the competition, like further their knowledge in those different things, I would definitely recommend it. I've got a CTF
I wish I would have known
team
these resources when I was actually a student.
How can you tell if you're prepared to apply for jobs skill-wise? That's always a difficult question because it depends on the job that you're applying for. Like, for example, I work with web application hacking. And when there's a couple of different questions. And when I first started out, I'm going to be real, didn't know anything about web apps, like at all. Like it, even after the NCL, it was always my weakest point. Like I just didn't really know what was going on. But then I applied for a job that specifically was meant to be the first 3 months where they teach you everything you need to know, and then they release you into like their actual work pool. I'm actually shadowing people right now. It's very fun. It's always interesting because I can't talk about my work because of how many non-disclosure agreements we have to sign, essentially. But what it comes down to is you have to be able, like, there's no real way to say like you have to know like this list of things and then you're ready for like all of these different types of jobs. It's more of a, what are you, like, you have to find, first of all, what you're interested in. Because if you're going to apply for any job, what they're looking for is they're also looking for your enthusiasm for the topic. I was told later after my interview, part of the reason why I was able to get the job in the first place, despite my, general like lack of knowledge, was the fact that I was so just intensely thrilled to work in the field, like with web application hacking in the first place. It was something I wanted to learn more about.
Willing to learn on the job, like yes. that's kind of one thing. Like, don't be closed off to like learning new things. Don't be like, oh, I know this, whatever. Bad idea.
Yeah. Like I said last
Always,
time,
always be willing to learn.
and I can't copyright that phrase because it's a game phrase, but it's good. It's a good point though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things where sometimes you can get a job and you can have absolutely no background, and sometimes you won't get a job even if you have a bunch of knowledge because maybe you just weren't the right fit for the position. So you have to find something that you are interested in and really put your best foot forward to show that you are willing to put in the time. And that's kind of as much specific information as I can give you. I mean, like, you should have a pretty general knowledge of like what's going on with security. But the thing is like, if you do the NCL, you'll get a pretty wide range of like bits and pieces of knowledge that can be useful in a lot of different like cybersecurity jobs. So I know it's not like the most useful answer. I'm sorry, but like,
that's the thing. It's different with every job, and it really depends on, you know, what the employer thinks is like the level of like knowledge. If it's an entry-level job, you know, maybe you won't need to have every single skill. They'll probably be training you. It's not necessarily like, there's no one answer to that question, unfortunately. So got a few more questions here. Curtis asked, for the NCL competition, can we use other network scanners besides Nmap? I'm sure you can. Sure. There's no like, there's no limitation to what you can use. Use what you can find. I've never used anything other than Nmap. So if you have one that you know already that you like to use, like, absolutely go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. So
it's
got another question here from Joaquin. He says he graduated in December 2018 with an information assurance / security degree, and I feel like I did not know anything. Is that normal? Yes.
So it depends on what kind of not knowing anything you feel like you have. Because if like, because most of the time what happens is it's a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, you feel like everyone else knows so much more than you do, and like you're missing something, and you're like, I have this piece of paper, but it means nothing because I can't remember like this list of things off the top of my head. Buddy, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
I know it's rough because you're your own worst critic.
Yep.
You will always look at yourself and be like, I don't know anything. I was about to swear. I can't swear on this stream.
Don't swear. Bad idea.
I know, I'm not going to swear. No swears. This is a swear-free zone. But the point is it's probably a lot of imposter syndrome, and you probably know a lot more than you think you do. Like, if someone were to start asking you questions or were to just start talking to you about your major, like in a relatively intelligent way, you would probably be able to answer a lot more questions than you think you would be able to. And that's, I think, something that people don't like appreciate as much. Like, they're like, oh, well, I can talk about it, but like, well, what am I gonna like do? Like, when you come out of college, a lot of what you've learned is very it's a lot of book learning, a lot of textbook learning. And so you're inherently going to be like, well, I don't have a whole lot of hands-on stuff. That's generally what happens. That's actually why there is a significant like lack of people in cybersecurity. Or like, there's people who are not like qualified to fill, there's not enough people qualified to fill certain jobs, is because they're like, oh, well, I don't have practical stuff. Like, what am I going to do? It's like, they need you. They'll teach you. Like, back in the day, way back in the day, like, oh, wow. I just realized that was like the 2000s were actually like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's 2019. I'm not. It's fine.
I don't like that. Anyways, the point is maybe like 20 years ago when it was the Wild West of the internet, and people were like able to, hack websites really easily, and like, they deface things. Like, there's a certain amount of the security industry where they'll like turn a blind eye if you have like some kind of weird knowledge that they're like, well, where'd you get that? We're not going to ask. Because some people have like hands-on knowledge. That's not to say I'm suggesting you go out and try and do weird things, because everything's so much more shored up now. But people just have, there's a lack of hands-on experience, because I'm sorry, where are you going to find that hands-on experience? Most of the time it's in like CTFs, other than CTFs or like doing illegal things.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you don't have the hands-on experience to make it work, I'm gonna say right now, probably like 60 to 75% of people also feel like that. So you shouldn't feel bad.
Yeah. And like that's the thing, most people when they first started out didn't have any practical experience. That's something that just comes with, you know, getting your first job and kind of going through the process. And the longer you're here, the more you'll know. It's kind of just how it goes with this industry. Like, and if you think about, you know, 15 years ago, there wasn't even a degree in cybersecurity that you could get. People just did it. They learned on the job, and that's just how it was. So definitely don't worry so much about feeling like you don't have enough practical experience. What was that?
Yeah. I said, or they did illegal things and like by hacking from their basement.
And learned.
Like,
yeah.
You know, and learned.
That's really, really how it was. So
my family thinks
a few more questions here.
My family thinks I'm their personal help desk. That's just how it goes.
Yeah. So
as soon as you are identified as a technological like person in the family, I'm sorry, you have no hope. That's how it is.
So next question from Jeana says, as a noob using Nmap, is there anything we shouldn't do that might flag us as attempting to attack the system?
We did get that one.
Did this question get asked twice, or did I not click answer before? I think
we may not have clicked answer.
Oops.
All of these questions have been answered, I believe.
Oops. That one might get a little messed up.
Oops.
I definitely clicked start answering before. I don't know what happened. It's fine. Sorry, guys. Things might get messed up.
Basements should be called the lab. It depends on what your setup is in your basement, though. Like, if you've actually got, like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that be considered a lab, then sure. If it's you on your laptop or, like, with your desktop in a corner eating, I don't know. I like Doritos.
I think everyone likes Doritos.
That's not a lab.
You can call it whatever you want, though.
You can call it whatever you want.
I think this is a new question. Don't think. Okay, yeah, this is new. So Curtis asks, does NCL have any categories for vulnerability scanning? Can I use Nessus and other vuln scanning tools? I don't think so.
Categories. I don't think there's categories. All the scanning is kind of done in one chunk. It is one whole, like, what's it called? Competency, I guess. It's one of the, like, 8 or 9.
Pretty much all the scanning is the Nmap stuff. So let's try like 2 or 3, just like straight scans. I don't think there's any vulnerability scanning. I don't think there's really a way for them to have us do that, unfortunately. So I think those ones got answered already. Is there anything else? So many things happened while I was answering questions. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, with like the feeling like you don't have practical experience, let's be real, we probably all feel like that. Especially if you haven't done NCL yet, you probably, and if you haven't done any CTFs, you probably feel like that. We all kind of have felt like that at one point or another. So I wouldn't spend all your time worrying about it. You'll get there eventually.
So Curtis asked, so there's no requirement to determine vulnerabilities and then exploit them? No, because if they had to set up systems for every single person, well, either there's 2 options. Either they have to set up vulnerable systems for people to exploit for every single competitor in the NCL, which, by the way, is like over 4,500 people. That would be a wild amount of like VMs that they have to run. Or two, that they'd have one system that everyone's scanning and trying to exploit. It would go down within 10 minutes.
Probably, yeah.
At best.
It would not stay up for very long.
So no, you don't have to vulnerability scan and then look up specific like CVEs for like certain things. No, basically all they have you do is essentially like some basic reporting for scan stuff. They don't have you. They're not having you like chain like scanning into other hacking things. Because
there's really
honestly, that would just be too much for that to set up. Yeah, not really. It'd be cool. It's a great idea. Like it'd be a lot of fun.
It just wouldn't work.
Yeah, there's too much going on. Make sure you have a good supply of Yoo-hoo and cheesy poops. Are those foods? Oh,
Yoo-hoo? You've never had Yoo-hoo?
No.
Chocolate drink? It's not even milk. It literally says chocolate drink on the box or the can. Depends on what you're drinking from. But
okay. I like chocolate milk or chocolate drink.
It's like a thin chocolate milk, I'd call it. If you pour it on a napkin, you can watch the chocolate separate from the liquid. It's really disgusting.
Oh, that's rough. You know what?
I still drink it though.
Yeah, here's the thing. I actually can't judge because I'm going to let you guys in on a little bit of a secret. So we have like not a fully stocked kitchen, but a partially stocked kitchen like at our work, which I believe is relatively standard for small boutique like tech companies. But the important part is, I don't know if y'all have ever done this, but have you ever looked at like those tiny little like creamer packs and just wanted to drink the whole thing? Because you're like, it's there. You know those little creamer packs, like like that you put in like coffee.
Does that in diners?
Yeah, so it's not like they were just the milk ones. They were like the fun like French vanilla and caramel flavors. Mm-hmm. But I definitely looked at them in the kitchen and I was like, no one's around. I can just drink one of these. And then I did. So I satisfied that curiosity. So I can't exactly judge people for drinking like light chocolate milk because, well, I've done worse.
It's fine.
It's great.
It's fine.
It tastes like French vanilla. Delicious.
We've all done it.
Wait, is this competition strictly scanning and basic overview? No, the competition is not strictly scanning and basic overview. There is one specific competency within the whole NCL competition that has to do with scanning. We have 14 different of these little live shows that'll be telling you about all the different like bits and bobs that you're going to need to know. This is just one show and one thing. We won't be trying to get password hashes and get root privileges. You will not. Okay, there will be password hashes for other things.
Not for
there's a crypto section that you will be able to, or password cracking.
Cracking.
There's a password cracking thing where you will do the password cracking thing. Yep. You're not going to be trying to get root privileges on anything for the same reason that I explained earlier, which is if they had to set up individual VMs for everyone to break into, or one singular VM that everyone breaks into, it would go down instantly. So
this is also not a red team.
They don't
CTF. So
yeah, it's not a red team CTF.
That does happen in red team CTFs though. The one that I did, they set it up in teams, and there was only like 6 teams. And they had like VMs set up for each team, and then you would try to get to root on those VMs. So yeah.
But yes, that is something that does happen.
Just not
like in a different section. Or the password stuff happens in a different section. Yeah. Will we be using John the Ripper? Okay, hold on. One of the future things is actually password cracking. Oh, yeah, it is. It's not next week. It's the week. It's a month from now.
It's a month from now? No. It's on October.
Traffic analysis wireless on October 3rd. So for password cracking, come back October 3rd and someone. I don't actually know who.
That'll actually be Kate and John will be on that one. I might end up filling in for
neither
because Kate is going to be in Disney streaming from the park.
Ooh, wow.
She's gonna see what happens. I might fill in for her. But yeah, John the Ripper's a good tool. There's
maybe I'll jump in on that one.
So definitely come back on October 3rd and you'll learn about all those tools. We're not going to talk about them here because this isn't the password cracking one.
Not the password cracking one yet. We will be telling you all of the secrets that you'll need to know, I'm sure. Or John will.
Yeah. Kate will.
I don't know what John has planned. Kate will. John's hosting.
John's hosting.
Kate
I'm sure he'll have some input. I might end up being
the
tech person for that one. We'll find out. Come back in 3 weeks and it'll be a surprise. Or you'll see Epcot behind Kate.
Yeah. Also, if you guys are interested in what the future live shows look like, I believe you can see this. In the top left-hand corner, there's a schedule for the NCL coaching, and you can look at all of the different shows that we're going to run, including, it'll also show you which ones we did previously. So if you accidentally missed one, you can go back and see the recording of that show. So if you missed part of this and didn't get the beginning where I did all the explanation, but you need to go back to it later, you can go up there. If you want to check out the schedule, there's for the future ones, it's there too.
One more thing, if you need to know more about setting up your VMs, that show was actually the last one we did on Facebook before we switched over to Crowdcast. So if you guys do have a Facebook, you can head over to the National Cyber League Facebook page and find that there. Or you can go on Kate's blog and there's a nice little tutorial on there if you don't feel like going and searching for a video or you don't have Facebook. Do you have a bug in there?
A lot of sunlight coming through the window that I wasn't expecting, and so I'm like, wait.
I think you're okay. We can still see you just fine.
Perfect. But I'm staring directly into sunlight.
So I don't have that problem. Yeah, so I think we got everyone's questions about scanning.
Yeah.
And we're nearing an hour, so I think this might be a pretty good stopping point. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this week. Come back next week, and you'll be learning all about next week's NTA, isn't it?
Yeah.
WebWitch will be hosting. I finally will be on a show. John is going to teach you all about NTA next week.
Nice.
I will be back on the week after to teach you about wireless access exploitation, though. So don't miss me too much.
I do like that.
I need a little bit of a break from Thursday Night Live. It's fine. Gotta give other people a chance to get on here. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
All right.